Scott, for those who might not be familiar with you or Kangaroo Time, can you introduce us and tell us a little bit about what you guys do?
Yes. Hi, Sierra. My name's Scott Wayman. I'm the founder and CEO at Kangorootime. At Kangorootime, we built software that essentially does three things. First of all, we manage the billing and the business of childcare with our software. Second thing we do is we provide classroom automation. So we try to make teachers 10 times faster than they would be in a traditional paper daily report. So allow them to collect insights in the classroom. And the third thing we do, which we feel like is one of the most important things, is we hardwire parents into the education experience with our parent app.
Awesome. Awesome. And Matt, can you explain a little bit about how CRM and or Childcare CRM and Kangaroo Time fit together?
Yes, of course. Great partner of ours is Kangaroo Time, and if you think about it, the parent journey or parent experience in childcare is kind of broken up in two parts. There's the way you interact with the childcare center when you first inquire to enroll your child there, and all the way through scheduling a tour and meeting the teachers and visiting the site, filling out your paperwork to enroll. That's what we kind of call the front end of that journey, or the lead part of that journey. And then when you become a customer or an enrolled family, you're really interacting with the center and the Kangaroo Time platform, right? And so we connect right at that middle point, that handoff between a family enrolling in a center and then moving forward as a customer of the center, and hopefully for a very long time. And so we've worked to bring our two solutions together and make it super seamless for both the parent and then also the center, who's leveraging our tools to be more efficient in their business every day.
Awesome. And yeah, today is a really exciting episode because we are going to be talking about both aspects of that parent journey. And I'll let Matt get a little bit more detailed into our annual report we release every year. But as we do near the end of this year, I would love to just kind of recap what 2021 has looked like, forecast a little bit of what 2022 is going to look like. So to kick it off, Scott, can you share something exciting that happened, in the business, maybe for yourself or in the industry in 2021?
You could not have asked at a better time. So we just launched our next generation solution that internally we call K2. And we made this decision not to call it K2, and then we continue to call it K2. So we just let the marketing geniuses do their work, and so it's K2. What K2 does really well, and what we're really excited about, is it handles the business as the center of the universe. So in competitive solutions out there, in K1, our first platform, the way the software handles entities is the child or the family is the center of the universe, and it doesn't allow for the child care management system to handle large multi-site businesses very well. So families switching from one center to another, or attending at two different centers in maybe the same week, or businesses that are franchise and corporate, just inherently has been a stricture and a limitation for our customers that are out there in purchasing the right software solution. So also, it's beautiful. Our software, we redesigned it. We started building it in 2018, and it's been kind of like this process of having a ton of tribal knowledge and really understanding our customers and having a relationship with our customers so that they could just feed us what they wanted for the next generation, this perfect product. So this is kind of a love letter to our customers, and we're very excited about it. From a business perspective, we basically grown our business eight times what it was in January. So we've grown super fast. The K2 platform is really resonating with childcare operators, and we're starting to hear it every day. Customers are saying, finally, we can run our multi-site business. And for those of you that are childcare operators, we feel like we're in what's called the great consolidation. The larger operators have financialized the business. They have private equity help, and they're on the acquisition train. They're ready to grow their business. Matt, we'll talk about this, but I can't tell you the number of operators or the number of organizations that have come to us and said, anybody that's selling, we are ready to grow. We've got our playbook. Expansion and growing our brand is the top priority. So it couldn't have been paired up and tilted in our favor and in our customers' favor in more of a perfect timing moment in history. I think, and again, Matt, we'll talk about this. I think COVID's effect and the tailwinds had been there was a thinning of the fray amongst the smaller operators, and the larger operators are seeing this as a time to really scale the business and take care of getting ready for scale with regard to new policy and things that are coming down the road.
I love the K2 name. I mean, it's must have been really hard to come up with.
It was hours and hours of thought groups and customer testing. Yeah, lots of hard work. Thanks, Matt.
I can attest to how pretty it is, though. I did get a chance to see it back in May, and it's a beautiful platform. Almost as good looking as this must. Are we on camera? Are they able to see my Movember mustache?
Yeah.
For this podcast?
I hope not. That mustache is disgusting.
Give the people what they want, Scott.
And you know what you look like? You look like Ned Flanders. Hidely ho, neighbor. Hidely ho.
Oh man, love it. Well, congrats, man, on a great year, and excited to see you guys really roll out K2. We know it's gonna be a hit. Pumped up.
We are so excited. Thanks, Matt.
Yeah, and Matt, is there anything that you've seen over the past year? Anything you want to piggyback on that Scott mentioned?
Yeah. I mean, look, best thing about 2021 is it was not 2020, right? And I think we were all feeling like there are major tailwinds in our industry now, and a lot of focus on childcare and how important it is to a healthy economy and a healthy nation. And so we're really excited to be on the forefront of that with other awesome companies like Kanagrootime. We also launched a new version of our platform, which has been great. A newer, more modernized, better UI, UX interface, and it's getting great reviews from customers. I think similarly, I think we all used last year as a time to kind of look within and how could we make our platforms better and better serve customers coming out of a pandemic. And so probably a lot of the same storylines at ChildcareCRM as Scott and team had at Kanagrootime this year, getting ready to really go big on the back end of COVID. So yeah, exciting stuff going on.
And just to piggyback on what you mentioned, Scott, we've definitely seen there's a lot of businesses out there looking to grow and scale their organization. And that's kind of what the report I mentioned earlier really focuses on, is providing those insights, best practices for businesses to scale and grow, and following, trends that I think everyone's starting to see, but we're really proud to kind of be at the forefront of those and provide that data to a market that maybe typically doesn't get a lot of data-driven, statistics and insights. So,
Sierra, it's interesting you say that. So we just raised a venture capital round, and part of the long, tireless journey is helping investors in the venture capital community understand your total addressable market. The data that we had from the IBIS World Report, there's the exchange report that comes out every year. The data was so fragmented, and so there was such a continuum of data. You couldn't ask an authoritative, a person with any authority, what the market size was, number of centers, what the segmentation looked like, and get any data back. So the data out there in the U.S. is super fragmented. So I love that you guys have this benchmark every year. It's great. We all need to leverage this data. Whereas when you go to Australia, childcare has been kind of nationalized. Australia has very precise data. You know the exact size of the market to the month. You know where there are childcare deserts, whereas we speculate as to where they are here. We know where they're at, obviously, but the data is just so much more precise.
Yeah. Yeah.
But back to my anecdote here. You know, you put a bunch of big brains that work in investment banking and venture capital, and we were really pleased with the amount of data, especially in that snapshot of time in quarter 1 of this year and quarter 2, and getting some professionalized insights from venture capitalists that are making bets with real money, wanting to know what they thought about the market, and would there be constraints, or would there be an expansion? What do the trends look like? I think, Matt, and you can correct me, our data found that about 11% of when you look at number of rooftops in the US, 11% are in enterprise businesses. So 15 centers or more represents about 11% of the US market, whereas in Australia, 50% of that market is enterprise. And what the thesis is, and what we're seeing with recent activity from our friends at Hinge Brokers and many of the people that are collecting good data, is that there's going to be that enterprise segment that represents 11% will be at about 30% over the next 5 years.
Yeah, lots of consolidation about to happen for sure in the space.
Yeah. Well, Matt, can you provide, we've mentioned the report a little bit. We've talked kind of high level on what it provides, but can you give a little more background about the Building Blocks for Success report for those who might not be familiar?
Yeah. So formerly known as our benchmark stats report, or it's been called our blind stats before. It's 9. I think this is the 9th version. So it existed long before I joined the team, but it's a really good thought leadership kind of benchmarking look at the childcare space, right? So, part of the benefit of having over almost 5,000 centers on your platform across 5 different countries is there's a lot of good data you can glean from that, and look for trends when it comes to driving enrollment and ultimately running profitable businesses, growing a healthy childcare business, right? So this year, we also, as with last year, we added in some outside data about, the market and COVID, the rebound post-COVID, because it's obviously still very relevant for everybody. So this year, you'll see a little combo of, our key learnings or the trends that came out of the data we analyzed, as well as coupling that with, some of the trends we're seeing in childcare in general, rebounding out of COVID, enrollment rates, number of leads per center per month, conversion, enrollment conversion, how many people have max wait lists these days. That's a big topic since you can't get the staff. People's wait lists are kind of overflowing at the moment, and using CRM to manage wait lists has become a real thing. So a lot of great stuff contained in the report. I think if you zoom out and kind of thematically for the report, it's really all about this notion we talked about earlier about the parent journey. I think some of the things we're seeing is, if you take all the different trends and all the different insights that we saw across the data, they all add up to the future is whoever can win the parents and own the parent journey and have it feel really seamless for a family, that's from the moment they raise their hand looking for care all the way through to showing up on the first day and dropping their child off, and ultimately, re-registering and retaining the next year and the next year and the next year, and then adding another child after that to the same school. That's going to be the focus going forward. And you see it in other verticals, and it's not just a childcare thing. It's just now hitting childcare, where the focus is going to be around that consumer journey and how people, quite frankly, shop for care, because it is shopping, right? They're looking for care and weighing their different options, buying or purchasing care, deciding where to enroll, and then what's going to help them stay. And I think when you get in a really competitive, consolidated market, to Scott's point, that's what wins out. You start optimizing your business in the early days, and technology is all about how do you cut costs and drive efficiencies in your office. And then it shifts to how do you design systems that help you win more customers and keep them. And that's kind of the overarching theme of the report this year.
So Matt, it's been a long journey. When we started building parent engagement in 2015, to see the attitudes of of schools and school leaders change from I I don't want to feed into this concept of helicopter parents or this is too much. I want my teachers focused on in classroom point of care activities. To fast forward 7 years later, or 6 years later, almost 7 years, um, the 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 notion of parent communication being anything like a distraction totally evaporated. Now, I think the vision most organizations in childcare have is you fight so hard to create quality in your classrooms, and you need that expression of quality to seamlessly connect with the families that you serve. And that's everywhere in the value chain. That starts with how easy are you to engage with, and top of the funnel science. How do I register? How can I reduce the most friction? And Matt, I think friction reduction and being able to get a customer in your door, we've talked about this and the science of that. I think that signals to your customer how well you run your ship. So that's that first indicator of quality. But yeah, just historically where we're at, I think we're at a time of generational change. Childcare is not a legacy business, right? It's less than 100 years old in the American model. But moving forward, I think what the study is showing is what we are hearing at scale. That expression of quality, it's mandatory to have it so that it's digitized and it's consumable for every family you serve.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. And you bring up a good
Absolutely.
point about, digitizing and making that experience seamless because we've found that 80% of today's parents to children under 12 are millennials. And, they grew up in the age of social media, of, websites getting those immediate responses, kind of that instant gratification. So I think the more that centers can digitize and optimize those processes, the better experience they're going to be able to provide for that generation.
Yeah, if you think historically, that part of the parent journey or the entire parent journey from when they are first looking for care to when they're coming in every day and checking little Johnny in at the center, they interact with a bunch of different platforms along the way. It's a very fragmented process for the parent and frankly for the center too. You're managing a bunch of different tools in order to engage with that family and then get them in the door and then bill them and collect payment and keep attendance and curriculum and all. There's a ton of solutions that centers use. And I think sometimes we forget that on the other side, there's parents that have to interact with all of those too. And to your point, the parents these days are used to really seamless and everything being digital. And the fact that you're asking me to log in or create logins to a bunch of different platforms is weird. The fact that there's any paper anything is weird. The fact that it takes time to get a response is weird. I can't just self-serve and do it myself is weird. The fact that you're asking me to pay with check or paper or cash is weird. I don't even have a checkbook, like those kind of things are that's today in childcare. And so I think we're seeing that really come out in some of the insights and day-to-day work. And Scott knows, he sees it all the time. That's what our centers are demanding of our solutions now going forward, because that's how they're going to win customers and keep them.
And you mentioned not even having a checkbook. I do not have a checkbook. And I was thinking the number is like more than 40% of millennials have never written a check. I mean, it's like, when I was in grade school, they taught us how to write a check one day, just where things go. And then I don't know what kind of class that was. Maybe it was like home economics or something. And then I never looked at a check again. So, and I don't even have a printer.
Okay. So let me be clear. I do have a checkbook. I'm not a millennial. That was just an example of parents
Trying to be
these days.
relatable.
Thank you for making me feel very old, Sierra. But yeah, no, that's true. The printer thing is funny though. I do not have a printer, and it's like, where do you print things anymore? Like I don't print anything. So like, think of when you go to enroll your child, and the center asks for a 30-page enrollment packet filled out, and you have to print it, fill it out, and scan it back, or go and drive by the center and drop it off. It's
Yeah.
bonkers. So
Well, and I mean, the printer thing just
Scott's got a printer for sure. Scott wrote a check for his printer paper he just ordered.
100%. I know. I was thinking like, oh, you guys don't have. I have like so many checkbooks sitting under here. Like I'm way old school. Also, like a funny story. Our first install that we did in December of 2015 at Blue Skies in Colorado Springs. There was a parent that came in the door, and we were like in pre-install mode, and the director goes, "Hey, I need your check." Like, because the mom would usually come in, and he's like, "Oh, okay, I forgot." And he goes, under his breath as he's walking out, he's like, "God, this is the only check I write in my life." And he walks out, and then walks back in, and I'm like doing a little demo for him, like, "Hey, you're not going to have to use a check anymore because of us. Tell all your friends. Tell all your friends."
yeah.
That's funny. It's so true. I mean, there's not many places left where you got to write a check. For Childcare is one.
Yeah. So, how can from the initial inquiry stage, I guess, the pre-enrollment portion of the parent experience, how can providers start to accommodate those concerns? And I'll give this one to Matt.
Yeah, so I think starts probably with a good online presence. We preach a lot at CRM about, you got to have you have to have a website. Most people do these days. If you don't, great. You at least leverage your Facebook page or something. You have to have some way, a digital footprint out there for folks to find you. Then once you have it, it's got to be optimized. It's got to be easy to contact you, have a contact us button on the front, or pop up a web chat or whatever it is. I think one feature we've seen work really well for us is self-scheduled tours. So if I'm a family these days and I go on a website, it's great if I can contact you and submit an inquiry so that you call me and ask more questions and set up a time to meet. Even better, though, if I can just schedule it right there on the site, right? And that's some functionality we launched last year that's in this report. Actually, you'll see it's kind of jumping off the page. The conversion rate is so much higher for folks if the lead comes in straight to that tour scheduled versus come in just raising their hand and saying, "Call me," right? Because there's just so much back and forth and opportunity to miss it or have it fall through the cracks. So I think those are very important. And there's all kinds of, great partners of ours out there, Winnie, Kinside, Care.com, all the, in Australia, Care for Kids, Toddle. There's a bunch of folks who are trying to make it really easy for childcare centers to advertise open spots and reach this marketplace of parents who are looking for care and going and meeting them out there. And those are definitely platforms you should utilize too. So I think you roll all those up in a ball, and it's basically having a good online presence and making it easy for folks to find you.
Hey, Matt, I think the big tailwind that right now, childcare operators are in the midst of the greatest labor crisis in our history, right? Like that worker class has been decimated. And if you want my prediction of what this really drives, I think it drives automation. I think when we look at that worker class that's at or near minimum wage, that is so hard to propagate into all the labor openings that there are in the U.S. market, at least. I think the takeaway is, fast forward over the next decade, you're going to go into fast food places and it's going to be completely self-serve. I think you're going to go, there are so many areas of artificial intelligence and machine learning that have unlocked the ability to make phone calls at scale or stupid things like reservations. Our owners are suffering, and they're going to have to find ways, and they are smart. They will find ways to automate. But I think automation and eliminating different tranches of labor inside the operation, it's going to happen naturally. And I think it starts with top of the funnel capture. It starts with enrollment. And then I think it moves into eventually right sizing the labor model inside classrooms too, which can't be done without software. Like, you're going to have to stand up systems so that you can effectively manage and spread, a thin labor class over a big portion of the American GDP and a big segment within what we call education, right? So automation is going to have its heyday here in the next 10 years. And I think the owners that embrace it earlier, they get to scale faster, and they have that first movers advantage early, and they can go.
Yep.
Awesome. So, Matt, you shared a little bit about kind of, the initial inquiry stage, what people can do to accommodate all these concerns. And Scott, is there anything, on your side of things, maybe post-enrollment, that you feel providers should really be prioritizing right now to retain families?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, again, the expectation for the American millennial parent is transparency. So standing up systems so that your parents can communicate into the center. Also, the ability to see an active multimedia representation of the child's day, like you see in the Kanagrootime activity feed, where you see pictures, videos, cute moments. Also understanding, again, back to a point I made earlier, your quality is so hard fought for. Expressing that out, as window dressing and these beautiful, consumable moments inside a daily report that's digitized is super important. Not only that, so the labor in the classroom, one of the things we've worked super hard on is in our teacher interface, automating natural language processing. So when a teacher's trying to build a real nice quality narrative of the child's day, giving them the ability to push one button and propagate that for everybody in the classroom. Or when they take a picture, have it do things in a smart way, like understand who's in the picture. And if a child has a no photo waiver, the software alerts them. We feel like if there's going to be this systemic labor shortage, we can give our operators the systems to make each teacher in the classroom this hyper effective operator inside the classroom. So if they can scale and they're not hunched over filling out 8 individual daily reports, because they have tools that allow them to do it easily, and they have prompts and nudges that remind them to change diapers and make them safer and enhance child safety. I think all those things are so critical. And then also, if you are using a software in the classroom, communicate back with the team that's providing it. Let them know we need nap reminders, we need SIDS alerts, we need these features, because this is a growing and evolving space. Classroom automation has not yet been done the ultimate way. Like there hasn't been that disruptor that's building classroom automation. And there are those of us out there that are building it, and we can only do it perfectly with the help of our customers.
Yeah, that's super interesting. So you see it going, yeah. I mean, that level of automation's going to be pretty innovative when it hits.
Also, I think, if you're going into scaling and, ultimately seeing the world of childcare as a partnership between families and really passionate educators, if you think about some of the things that we can do in the cloud by synthesizing a lot of data, at Kanagrootime, we're collecting about 1 million events every 3 days. So we have so many centers collecting feedings, diaper changes, potty training notes. We wrote a white paper already that played out the battle of the genders on potty training. And newsflash, Matt, you and I statistically had accidents in our pants a lot longer than Sierra and Marissa did. So I mean, and you didn't even have a mustache then, or maybe you did, maybe you did. But just imagine how critical and valuable that data is with the right approach to data science. I use this example all the time. If a child is kind of milestoning at an age appropriate level, and we know that there's something that's being recorded in the classroom that might indicate that their gross motor skills aren't leveling up as much as they should, we can send a push notification to the parent, and we know exactly what time they respond most efficiently to push notifications, which is about 7:30, because I guess they finished dinner and they're getting ready. We can send them a push notification saying, "Hey, put a jump rope in a figure eight and practice balance before you tuck your child into bed." Or, "Hey, here's a great children's book on this social emotional theme. Here it is. Open it up inside the Kanagrootime app." But I just think that if we think long tail, that data science and our ability to compile data in 2021, we can really weaponize some things that help our operators scale and enhance that family to educator partnership.
Yeah. Well, I'll add something, just kind of piggybacking on what you mentioned. So it's interesting talk about how these providers can really kind of guide the family through like the child development process, through these workflows and automations. And that's something that we also found this year, is that workflow automations are really proven to help guide families through the enrollment process, and obviously through post enrollment as well. And
Potty
what'd you
training.
say?
Potty
Potty training,
training.
yes. We're potty training parents over here through workflow automations. No, but I mean, parents are busy. And they're not, in the post enrollment phase, they're not the one with that child every single day, seeing what's going on in person every day. So to have that kind of communication is huge. And on the front end, to be able to guide parents from that initial inquiry to the tour to registration or wait list and fee payment and all that is something we've seen to be really critical in enrollment success over the past year.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, what we would love to do is have our solution bring parents to a tour date, right? So a director at a center can meet them, give a great tour. We know it's a really pivotal moment in kind of that quote unquote selling process. And then after that, take the follow-up interactions and automate all the way till they show up on the first day, right? So it's really just 2 times a center director has to spend time out of their day, which they're going to want to do because those are the times that they're going to actually interact with the family. And that's what we want, right? We want to free them up to do the things they like to do and the whole reason they got into this business in the first place, and then automate away all the other stuff. Right. But if you could distill it down and just say, hey, here's a family that wants a tour. And then a week later say, okay, here's a family that's ready for drop off. That'd be amazing, and take all the work out of it for a center director.
Yeah. And you also mentioned, Scott, communicating digitally with those daily reports and the multimedia parent communication app. And that's definitely been a huge trend we've seen, is the importance of communicating with parents the way they want to be communicated with, which digital is preferred over phone by a huge percentage. And then we've also seen texting has really risen in popularity over the past 2-3 years. So Matt, how can you share a little bit about what texting can do and kind of, really the benefit of using that method of communication?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about y'all, but that's text. I answer text and I don't answer emails. I mean, we get a million emails now, and text, you can't escape it. It's just like there, and I'm so used to doing it in every other part of my life that it's not. It applies to childcare too, and so I think we saw that the usage of text on our platform has skyrocketed. I'm sure it's the same with Scott's over the last year or two, and emojis are important. We added emojis to our text capability this year, so that was a big thing for 2021. We got emojis, people, so you can text emojis because everyone loves a good emoji.
Hey, Matt, just to clear up the controversy, did you know that this emoji, I just found this out yesterday. Did you hear this? The prayer hand, I thought it was called prayer hands. It's really high fives.
Yes. No. The prayer is not the high five.
It is. It is.
No, it's not. All right, listen to this. So I got a story for you. So I sit on the board of a smaller company, the growing company, VC backed, and one of the other board members, I'm blanking on the gentleman's name. I should know it to throw it out here on this podcast, but he redid all of the emojis for Apple years ago. And the one that I confirmed, because we had a debate in ChildcareCRM, the one where the hands are up with the little spikes
Yes.
like this, and everyone thought it was like praise the Lord, that is high fives. That's high five.
Okay. You're blowing my mind. And actually,
Yes.
yeah, did you know that there's an emoji consortium? Speaking of your friend, like it has to go through, it's kind of like the dictionary where, every year there's like a new word from pop culture that becomes a new word. There's an emoji consortium that approves them because they have to standardize them across iOS and Android. It's just
Right.
crazy. It's crazy. But
Do you think I could get? You think I could get a emoji of my mustache?
that would be, I think there is one. There's like a poop emoji, right?
Teed him up for that one.
Yeah, totally.
I have a funny story actually about the poop emoji. Jessica Johnson, shout out to one of our customers. She's the CEO and president Yellow Brick Road. She actually uses both of us. She's awesome. She used to be a block here at ChildcareCRM. And now in her new chapter, she has her staff send out text reminders for tours. And she told me that their like go-to for a confirmation is just, hey, if you're going to be at your tour tomorrow, send us your favorite emoji. And she said that they get poop emojis like constantly. Like that's just apparently parents just love that poop emoji. So
Hey, but Matt, to your point, and Sierra, to yours as well. A few years back, we when we launched the app, we got all these requests for, hey, the push notification is great inside the app, but for like super critical things, we want text messages. So we implemented it, and then we started getting data on it. The modality, whether it's phone call, text, push notification, that sits at the top of the attention graph is definitely text. Like Matt and Sierra, you guys have some background in marketing, and obviously ChildcareCRM tracks this, but open rates on email are like 30% when you're killing it, and when Marissa crushes a newsletter, it's getting 25-30%, and we're high-fiving, or prayer handsing all day long. And a text will get opened at 95% in the first 10 minutes. It's incredible. It's incredible how many people left you on red, like you,
Yes.
they all get checked.
Yeah. And we also, I think and I could be wrong here, but I'm pretty sure the response rate for text is like 80% reply within the first 90 seconds or something like that. It's crazy. Yeah. So yeah, text is going to be huge for 2022. I think it's just going to surpass email. I think it's going to surpass phone increasingly with each year. So yeah. Awesome. Well, is there anything you feel like I didn't ask either of you today? Anything you want to add about what you see coming for 2022?
Hey, I'll just say, from us here at Kangarootime, we've seen people fight through a really tumultuous time, and we think it's time for optimism. It's we there's something interesting. I remember, Matt. You and I are Gen Xers. We're old enough to remember, the kind of the aftermath of 2008, and we're looking at probably some interesting next couple of quarters when it comes to GDP and inflation and things like that. But I think our owners are positioned really well, because regardless of inflation, I think the American public has realized how essential childcare is. I think we're all learning as we hear about policy and stimulus and dollars being printed into our world, back into childcare, that our teachers have respectable pedagogies, and we need to start to rethink that worker class and how we pay them, how we create upward mobility for them. And I think a lot of that work's going to be tough, but I think it's going to be good. It's going to be for the greater good. And so we're super optimistic. I understand everybody's fighting through a labor shortage, but these things typically create beautiful things like automation and really kind of operationalizing the business. And I'm really excited for our owners and directors and our childcare leaders.
Yeah, agreed. We're pretty bullish on the future too, and like you said, Scott, it's undeniable now how important the sector is to a healthy economy and a society, and I think everyone in the U.S. is really rallying around it now, and you can see it in the support it's getting federally, and so we're pretty pumped for 2022. Also, yeah, I think you can look for a lot of great stuff from our two teams. We'll continue to work hard to partner together and make our platforms as seamless as possible for our mutual customers. And sky's the limit for sure.
Awesome. Well, I will make sure to link the report below for anyone who's interested in the show notes, or if you're watching on YouTube, in the description area. And make sure to visit.
And Sierra, you've got it in the title of this podcast. I better see a couple poop emojis.
Okay, I'll throw some in there where I can. Maybe.
Okay.
Or just my face.
I can, in the YouTube version, right. I'll just put a poop emoji right there. Yeah.
All right.
Awesome. Yep. Well, make sure to check out Kangarootime at kangarootime.com. And you also host weekly webinars, I believe. Is that right?
That's right. Yes.
Yes.
Go to our YouTube page. Just search for Kangarootime. You'll find us. We have an embarrassment of wealth of content from great thought leaders like Matt Amoia. It's crazy how much content that Marissa stood up, and we love to provide it.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, and I know we'll all be talking soon. So,
all right. See y'all.
See you guys. Thanks.